to the Punchline with Kelly Pavlik and James Dominguez.
Pavlik rips into him with a huge left hand to the body.
The Punchline.
Boxing's most interesting podcast.
Kelly Pavlik relentless when he got Dominguez.
In the middleweight division.
Well, you're here listening to The Punchline with Kelly Pavlik and James Dominguez, and we have another good show today. I'm excited for it. You know, got a big weekend coming up of fights, a big fight with Kell Brook and Earl Spence Jr., and we also have Karen Tate, who is a professional writer and has worked with comic books to regular books to everything as doing interviews with professional fighters and world champions, you know, Andre Wards and Sean Porters and so on. So what do you think, James? Pretty excited?
Yeah, I'm pretty excited. I'm excited to talk to Karen. She's been in the game a long time, and her opinions are usually pretty good. I read some of her stuff over the past week when I found out she was coming, and some of the things she says, I mean, she's spot on. I enjoy her writing. And so I'm looking forward to it. I'm really.
Well, we need somebody with
some knowledge, right?
Other knowledge than what we have, you know.
Yeah. Well, a lot of my knowledge is just an opinion, you know. So, but like I said, I'm pretty excited about talking about these fights. We've been off for a few weeks because, you know, we both had some issues coming up, family and things like that. So I'm happy we're back in the studio working again.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, you know, getting ready to talk about last week's fights with Crawford and everything else. You know, and I know I'm going to get hit on my opinion and everything with these fights, but fuck it. You know, like, you know, again, you're going to have people going, oh, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. So,
well, they're going to do that no matter what you say.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to like what I got to say too much, but, well, no, but it's the truth. You know, and if anybody knows boxing, should probably agree with a lot that I got to say. So, You might disagree with me because sometimes you're a student like that, but...
Well, most of the time, yeah. I mean, but it depends what you got to say.
For sure.
All right. Well, let's hear it. Let's hear your opinion on the Crawford and Diaz fight.
Well, the Crawford Diaz fight, I wasn't impressed. You know, and it's not Crawford's fault. You know, it was the opponent that he had in front of him. But you know, I don't think that right now. At that weight class, I think he's legit and nobody's going to beat him. I don't think that he would fare well a weight class up. And I could be wrong on that, but I just don't think against, you know, we talked about a little bit with a Sean Porter. Sean Porter is just a bigger, stronger, and he's in your chest type fighter. Crawford is not going to hurt him. You know, Sean Porter is going to push him around. Crawford looks as skinny as he does right now at 140. Now, he's going to go up to 147 at 7 pounds, and that's a big difference in boxing in each weight class. But, you know, now he's moving to a higher weight class, and just to go in against somebody like, and I'm using Porter as an example because I think for sure that a Porter would beat Crawford, maybe even a late stoppage. You know, Porter comes, he puts his head in your chest, he throws hundreds of punches, he's strong, he has halfway knockout power, more than half. So I see it being a tough fight for Crawford throughout to try to keep him off of him, to try to keep up the punch weight. And he's not going to box. He's not going to move around the ring. Porter will be on his chest.
You know, I mean, part of what you say, I agree. Crawford hasn't shown. He doesn't like being in there. He doesn't like pressure. He doesn't like that. And that's something that Porter would give you is a lot of pressure. Porter can make anybody look bad. But what
and I'm just using Porter out of all the guys.
Yeah, they're not saying they're fighting.
Because of his style.
Exactly. But what Porter doesn't like is real boxing. Porter can't handle keeping you at the end of his jab, things like that, you know? I mean, that's exactly what, you know.
Wait, you mean Porter don't?
Porter doesn't like being held at the end of a jab. Or
no.
He don't like to be held.
But how
outside.
many people have you seen? And Porter has fought some top level fighters. How many have kept him at the end of their jab?
Crawford could.
I don't think so.
I think Crawford could, but also,
If Crawford was a stronger natural welterweight, yeah, I could say that. But I think Porter's just going to walk right through that. Also, Crawford will eventually get tired from the running because he's not going to be doing a relaxed experience moving like a Bernard Hopkins or like even a Martinez who expended a lot of energy moving. Crawford literally will have to be on a run to not have Sean Porter. He's not going to keep Sean Porter away with a jab.
You know, the thing that really got me on this fight was not his style, but I can see the breakdown of his personality from when he started, how humble he was, to him becoming a fucking asshole. You know what I mean? At this point.
And, to his credit on that, and I agree with you. I seen that too. But some guys, even very humble fighters.
Tapping on this guy's head. What more else? You know, I'm knocking on the guy's head. I'm like, look, you're beating this guy soundly. Why embarrass him more than you have to?
Well, fighters do get really bored in there, and they kind of got to do something to keep them motivated.
Like I said last week.
He was winning so easy that, I don't, and again, I'm not arguing with you on this. Yeah. I kind of agree with you. But at the same time, I've seen other guys, very humble fighters, do some cocky things that are just out of boredom and maybe to keep themselves active more.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to see him do something like that against Mikey or somebody else. Tap on his head,
Yeah. He does that to Mikey, they're going to be tapping on his head to wake him up. But, and I was throwing Sean Porter's name out there because of his style. But now you also get into that weight class that he can move up to. You're talking about the Earl Spence Jr.'s. You're talking about the Kell Brooks.
I think Errol's just too big for
that's what I'm saying.
For Crawford.
Well, Sean Porter is every bit as not thick-wise, big, and natural. Again, like we talked about a couple shows ago, Sean Porter actually fought higher.
Sean Porter's missing that one ingredient, though. One punch knockout power.
He is, but he hits hard enough. Again, with his strength and his condition, he wears guys down. He's in your chest, and Sean Porter could take a shot too. I don't think Crawford. First of all, Crawford is not that big. He got power at 140.
You know what? I'm checking our paperwork here to make sure that that Sean Porter's not sponsoring the show.
I'm not. Hey, he's a local guy too. I had a lot of ties with Sean Porter.
Sure Sean Porter's
I like Sean Porter as a fighter.
This show's brought to you by Sean Porter.
You know what? Yeah, we should actually get paid for that.
Yeah, we should.
Talk to this promoter. But no, I'm just using that name because of the style again. But you got the other guys out there.
We talked a few weeks ago about Sean Porter giving Mayweather everything he could handle by just the style that he fought in.
Here's how it kind of goes for the way why I'm not beating up Crawford on here, okay? Crawford is obviously a great fighter.
Yeah.
Okay. So for all you guys listening to it going, Crawford's a legitimate pound for pound champ.
He absolutely
and number
is.
one. What the fuck are you talking about, Kelly? Shut the hell up and listen to everything that I'm saying. Crawford is a legitimate great fighter. But he's at a weight class where he is not being tested.
Exactly.
I said this now even before, and I have the proof on the prior shows. I have said about Triple G. I go, Triple G has all the tools. He has everything there, it seems like, to be an all-time great. But when he fights a natural middleweight who's big and strong, who can take his punches, and not only take his punches, but fire back hard punches of their own, we're going to see how Triple G reacts. And we've seen that with Danny Jacobs. I'm not being mean when I say this. Danny Jacobs is not an all-time great middleweight. He's not. Danny Jacobs was not relevant in the middleweight division for a little while. I mean, he was, but he wasn't.
Until he beat Kid Chocolate, he wasn't, yeah.
Yeah, So that is going on that, and then look what happened with Triple G. Now, I'm not saying Triple G is not going to go back on to rule the middleweight division because there's still really nobody at middleweight besides Danny Jacobs. Well, now you got Canelo, which I think Canelo, after seeing how Triple G performed against Jacobs, I think Canelo has a very, very good chance, and I would actually, me personally, would favor Canelo.
I'm favoring Canelo too. I think Father Time caught up with Triple G just a little bit.
So that's what I am saying with Crawford now too. I'm the same thing. He's good. He's gifted. He's an unbelievable fighter at 140. But you got a whole shitload of soldiers sitting at 147 right now that if he goes in there and he beats two of them, four guys, then I would say, holy shit, this kid's the real deal. Or I'll tell you, I think a good fight, and I'm sorry to interrupt, I'll tell you a good fight for him for his first fight at 147, I think would be against Garcia, Danny Garcia.
I think
his first, since he's just going to that weight class, he's going up in weight.
Danny's a small welterweight himself.
Yeah, put him in there against Danny Garcia, who's been in with other formidable fighters and world champs. And if he goes in there and smashes him, then he knows that he is going to be a legitimate 147-pound champion in that field of a bunch of talented, great fighters.
Well, like I said, the welterweight division today is kind of like, it's symbolic of the 1980s welterweight division. I'm not saying that the talent's the same, but I'm saying that's where all the fights are at right now.
Oh yeah, because there's so much talent at that weight. Fuck, I mean, I forgot to keep throwing Thurman's name in there. I mean, so it's just a loaded weight class. It's kind of like the middleweight division of the what was that, early 80s?
Yeah, and now that
late 70s?
And yeah, exactly. And now that you have the 70s and early 80s, with even their B side in that time period was amazing. Who was their B? Wilfred Benitez?
Yeah. Was Benitez a B fighter?
No.
If he was not in that weight class, Benitez would be an A fighter.
And Benitez was actually my favorite fighter ever.
Yeah.
I mean, just defense and everything. But you have guys like Leonard, Hearns, Duran. I mean, it's just crazy.
Yeah, and obviously those names will always jump out. But, so, I mean, that's where I keep going on that. Like, you have a weight, and I used the Porter name because of his style of fighting, because he would be in the chest. And Crawford is a good puncher. He's not a strong guy to keep somebody off, let alone jumping up a weight class at 147.
Yeah.
And the way his frame is. And you get a guy like Porter. That's why I'm using his name, because of the style. But yes, you still put the other guys out there. Fuck, I mean, come on. You got a Thurman, who I didn't mention that many times.
Well, then if you want to put the name out like this, what about Brandon Rios? Brandon Rios fights that same style as Porter.
3 years ago, I would definitely. And again, who knows? We haven't seen Brandon fight yet again.
I think Brandon's scheduled for next month.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But, and that's another one. Brandon 2 years ago, I think that would be a hell of a test for Crawford, because he is a named guy that we know is a world championship level. And I think Crawford would have probably, from the way it seems, would probably beat him. But then again, the way Rios fights, who knows?
Well, based on like my observations, what I've noticed about the Crawford fight, he doesn't like to be hit. I mean, nobody likes to be hit, don't get me wrong. But what I'm talking about is
he reacts.
He reacts, and he kind of runs. He got hit, he'd run. He hates being hit. I mean, he doesn't want to engage with his opponent when he's hit. A lot of fighters, they get hit, they're like, all right, it's time to go.
Yeah.
Not him. 6 steps backwards, and and which is fine. He has a very underrated defense. And he fought a good guy. This guy was a gold medalist, Olympic gold medalist. And a lot of people don't understand. They're like, oh, this Diaz sucks. No, he doesn't suck. This guy fought every single type of fighter you could ever fight as a U.S. Olympian.
Yeah. And there still is a little difference, though, on that from the amateurs to the program. But he fought Peterson for a great fight.
Yeah, and I think he beat Peterson. I watched the fight.
Yeah, and Peterson's a good fighter.
He's a good gatekeeper.
Yeah, and but like you said, but that style, and he showed his heart and balls, in that fight with Peterson. it was a great fight, action-packed. But yeah, so I before anybody goes hopping on like, Kel, he's the pound for pound best in this opinion. Again, as I said with the GG fight, pound for pound at what though? At what weight class? You have to take at 140.
Well, pound for pound doesn't have a weight class.
If he goes in at 147 and he goes in there and he is the undisputed champion in that weight class with all those fighters, then yes, you know what? Holy shit toast, man. Crawford's the real deal.
Well, I want to see Crawford fight somebody. I mean, let's be
that's
honest.
what I'm saying.
I mean, he fought the Russian kid.
We're saying Danny Garcia for the first, and that's being nice because, that's his first fight at 147, but he's not going to get the respect from me, or not to respect, I respect him. I guess as being a pound for pound top 4 contender, he's still ain't going to, if he goes there and smacks around Danny Garcia, he's not going to get that respect. When he goes in there and smacks around a Thurman or smacks around a Earl Spence or a Sean Porter, then yes, I guess then that's when I can really start talking about him being a pound at the top of the pound for pound list.
Or why don't he keep his ass at 140 and fight Mikey? That fight would be amazing.
For some reason, that fight, I don't see it happening, though. I mean, I don't even really hear any of them mention each other's names.
No, they have mentioned each other's names, but, just, I think, it's promotional things. But on another topic.
I personally think a lot of people are stepping away from Mikey, though.
Well, yeah, of course. But I've been here, a lot of people's been talking about this Broner-Mikey fight coming up, which I heard from, close sources in there that the fight's not going to happen, so I haven't put too much stock into it. But it's all over the internet. The fight's going to happen on the 29th. Well, let's just say for a sake it does. I don't see Broner winning this fight. I don't see. And look, I love Mikey. Mikey's like Mikey's family, everything else. But I don't see. Broner giving him a chance. I don't think Broner having a chance in this fight. People are saying, "Oh, you guys love Mikey. You're all over his nuts." No, that's not the case. Case is talent. If Mikey was half that talent, I say, well, shit, it's going to be a good fight. And
no, it's not the case. I mean, like what me and you talked about with Broner, and you made a good point about that, and we agreed. Broner copied the Mayweather style.
Yeah, shoulder roll.
But the difference between Broner and Mayweather is Mayweather never really just stuck to the one style in the ring. And it could be something as simple as the way he keeps his shoulder in his hands. He does a shoulder roll maybe for 3 rounds. Say somebody's catching him, they're hitting him in the back and they're getting to him. Mayweather always had another thing that he went to that threw people off.
He had that. He had 4 game plans.
Yeah, he had an A, B, C, and D. Broner just has an A. Broner comes in, he has that style, and he got away with it because of his naturally gifted ability and speed. But you've seen guys that exposed it, though, against Broner, and he did not know what to do.
Well,
Mikey Garcia, you got a kid that is as fast as he is, as strong as he is.
And one-punch KO power, and he's only getting stronger, him moving up. But you know what I lay the blame at? And I hate doing this, but a lot of time, it's Mike Stafford's fault with Broner. Mike Stafford's had some of the great amateur talent that you could have. Yeah. And he pisses it all away because he doesn't adapt to that pro style. He wants all those. Look, let's go back. He's had Broner, Dante Craig, Ricardo Williams, and if you remember the amateurs, like I remember the amateurs, Ricardo Williams was Floyd Mayweather before Floyd Mayweather.
Remember James Helms?
Hell yeah!
I fought him, and Stafford was
slick.
Yeah. Brandon Bush, who I fought.
Oh, exactly, but he never. Those fighters never. What's the other kid's name from Cincinnati? The little one that looks like Beetlejuice.
Oh, Ronnie Sauer?
No. Now you're just putting names out, getting yourself in bigger trouble. 2-time Olympian, 3-time Olympian. Little guy.
Oh, I just put a dip in.
I'm trying to remember his name. But yeah, I don't know why I don't remember him right now. Anyway. All those fighters, they don't move into the pro style. They keep that amateur style, and then it comes to bite them in the ass later on in their career.
Oh, it does. Because after so many fights, your body's adapted to that.
Now, I'm not saying anything bad about him. He's a great coach, but he's a great amateur coach. Mm-hmm. And there's a big difference. Now you see guys like, let's say, Joel Diaz, Robert Garcia, the Big G. These guys can coach amateurs, and they make that jump to pros like it's nothing.
Yeah.
So, and that's the...
Well, that's the thing, too.
Look at Jason Bailey.
We don't have the time to really get in and... Oh, Jason.
Oh, that was a joke, guys. We're just messing around.
Yeah, we love Jason.
We love Jason. But, no...
He trains Charlie Z, too.
Charlie Z.
Hell of a fighter. 100... the only pro out there that's 100-0 right now.
He's 152-1. He lost to Dante Wilder.
Oh, he took that loss?
He took that L, yeah.
Okay.
But he was 150.
No, but like what you were saying about that, and here's the problem where a long amateur career comes into play where it hurts people. You get, like for the pro career, when you see a pro go in there and spar a very good amateur fighter, you'll see the amateur fighter do things that'll hit the pro maybe with a nice combo. But that pro, if you watch him, he's kind of picking some of them off with the elbow. He's not being flashy, dodging it. He's just catching them. And you see him doing little things like throwing a little body shot here and there. It's not to hurt him at that exact point. But that's either to set up a big shot that he's going to land or to slowly wear down the fighter. A pro fighter as far as with an amateur, he's not going in or carrying who's around the gym watching him get his ass whooped. Because pro boxing is time. You got a lot of time to work with. You got to manage that clock. A good fighter manages the clock good too and knows exactly when to pick it up, where to go to, because by what round somebody's going to start feeling the effect of what they're doing. And you'll see a lot of good pros will go in there and they'll tap to the hips and they'll do things to slowly. And even if that kid's only going in 3 rounds, it keeps that pro fighter in the habit of doing that, though, because in a fight, you're not going to be having a kid leave after 3 rounds and somebody else coming in. So you'll see some of these amateurs go and you'll hear people go, yeah, he's the ranked number 2 in the country and he went in and spanked the shit out of this pro fighter. Well, that reason why, though, is because he only had 3 rounds, and the kid knew he had 3 rounds to go in there and do that. And this pro guy still had 9 more rounds of sparring, and he's working on what he's doing. If that kid stayed in there another 2 rounds, you're going to see who got their ass whooped. But these amateur kids, too, they keep that habit. After, I believe, like, anything over 250 fights is actually not...
Is detrimental.
Yeah, it does. Your fighter gets in that habit.
I believe anything over 150 fights is detrimental. I mean, I feel the effects of it nowadays. Hands hurt, wrist.
Yeah.
You know.
If you do something just regular life, if you do something like a habit and you just go do it day in, day out, and even when you try to change it, you're going to see the difference in trying to change it and the hesitation and everything else. And it's the same thing that goes into being an amateur boxer. Yeah. When you train day in, day out, fight day in, day out, and how many tournaments and regular boxing shows, that's how you become accustomed to fighting. And now if you try to change it in your pro career, it's not going to take 4 months or 5 months. It's not going to take a year. It takes a long time to get out of habit. And plus, you're an adult by that time.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I wanted you to know that since I quit amateur boxing, I got into something safer. I'm starting men's hockey on the 9th of next month. So a little safer than boxing, right? And rowing. I'm doing rowing, too.
Oh, God.
Hey, I want my Ivy League to come out, right?
You ain't going to have no teeth.
Well, rowing...
The hockey.
Oh, shit. I'm already...
Motherfucker, you're going to be... Your ass can't skate that good, man. You're going to beat a fucking puck.
How many Mexicans you ever seen ice skate?
You're going to look like a big puck floating around that ground.
Hey, I'll tell you what, though. I'm going to be 40 years old tomorrow. My teeth are on their last leg anyway, let's be honest. I only got about, 10 good years left, and they all start popping out? No. We were talking about the whole amateur boxing thing. You know, I've sparred with guys like Spadafora, Terry Norris I've worked with. I worked with Jesse Benavides. And I would go in there. Eddie Cook, too. I would get in there, and I would think, oh, man, I beat this guy. But you know what I realized as I got older? I didn't beat anybody. They were working on what they wanted to work on while I was in there. I was nothing more than a tool.
Yeah.
I mean, as good as I thought I was, they could have put me away anytime they wanted.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, especially with Eddie Cook, first big world champion I ever worked with. I was about 15 years old. And if you ever contact him, ask him. He still remembers. I'm throwing these bombs. I just won the National Silver Glove. So, you think.
You're Tits McGee.
I'm the tits. Yeah. I'm throwing these bombs, and they're bouncing all over the place on this guy. And then I realized, fuck, I didn't land shit. They were bouncing off his shoulders, his elbows, his gloves. Yeah. I didn't land shit. I would throw these 100-punch salvos in a round, and nothing land. And that's exactly the difference between a pro and an amateur.
The part that really sucks it out of your heart is you're actually starting to breathe heavy, and you're going, fuck, I'm tired. And you're looking at this son of a bitch, and he's just all cool, calm, collective, just moving, and he's still tapping to your body. And now you're expending more energy because you're tired to get out of the way of his punches. And inside of his head, he's laughing his ass off.
Do you know what he was doing? You know what he was doing to me? And it showed his experience as a pro. He would jab me, and not hard. It was just a simple jab, Yeah. He was hitting me right under the nose, right above the teeth, right in that soft spot.
Yeah.
And he was tapping me with it. I was like, why is he doing that? It's not. Well, the round started going, my legs started getting weaker and weaker. Pretty soon I could barely walk. I could barely move. They were shaking. He was knocking me out slowly. So that's what he was doing. Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, I couldn't believe it. Wow. And then I saw the difference between the pro and the amateur style. He's putting that work in for the long run.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to get it over with. I'm trying to get my 3 rounds.
Yeah, you're going to get your points and get the hell out.
And after that, I saw that, it was same with Jesse Benavides. Just tapping my hip. I'm like, what the hell is he doing? Couldn't move. And all it did was set me up into a body shot because I couldn't move anymore. Yeah. I couldn't move laterally because he hit that body.
That's another big one. I started doing that towards the end of my career. It was, even in a sparring, even when you're holding, okay, you're in the clinch, I would turn my knuckle in, with the wrist, and I would hit them on top of the hip. Yeah, because, it's not hurting right at the time that you're doing it, but that fucking hip gets really heavy. Like 3 or 4 rounds later, it starts getting heavy in the movement and everything else. And you'll see and hear a lot of experienced fighters tell you that that's what they do a lot.
Yeah. Or putting the knee on the outside of their knee and just pushing in a little bit.
Oh, yeah, knocking
that knee loose just a little bit.
Well, what that does is open up the body.
It does, exactly. And it also makes you sore as hell.
Yeah.
It makes that ankle and that calf muscle sore just by pushing it out.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one for even if you're in a street fight. When you grab each other in a street fight, and you're like kind of like hugging each other, trying to go to the ground. What people don't know is like with boxing, you can still get your knees usually on the inside. All you gotta do is hit that knee over just a little bit, and that person will actually automatically open up and probably let go of you. And you take that step back and crank them.
Another thing we learned from Sergio, me and Roger learned from Sergio Martinez, when you're in the clinch, why are you all tight? Sergio would put his, where the thumb part of his glove, he'd put it under your elbow while you're up there and just move it. Yeah. Because people aren't used to being grabbed and moved. He would just move you aside and hit you in the body. And people don't realize that. They get all tense and they sit there and they're arched over, which is totally wrong too. But he just grabs your elbow and just moves you, and your body comes up and it's out of place. And I mean, just little things that pros do that amateurs, it makes me wish that I could go back and know what I know now then. You know what I mean? Yep. Because these guys could have put me away anytime they wanted. So, I mean, just like Terry Norris almost put me in an ambulance. Oh, yeah. I think I pissed him off. I think I pissed him off. The bell rang. Right when it rang, threw a right hand, hit him right in the mouth. And I was like, oh, shit. I knew how hard he hit, you know what I mean? Oh, yeah. He came out in that second round. He hit me so hard. And I hit the ropes, and somebody said, and they grabbed me. And they said, I said, I'm okay, let me go. They said, no, the next sound you hear if he hits you is an ambulance. That's the honest truth. You'd be talking to Jesus.
Oh, shit, you get guys like that, though. I mean, especially in the pros. I remember sparring Coffee Gentua. And who was, he was the heavy-handed, it wasn't a great fighter. He was good, don't get me wrong.
He was part of that African connection that all hit.
Yeah, and he fought great, he was good, really good, because he fought like the Marco Antonio Rubios and things like that. But he was just a heavy-handed fighter. No matter if he was good or not, when you fought him, you had to expect to get hit very hard. And he would just throw little shots, man, and you constantly were worried. Even if you're in there boxing his ears off, you still always had to worry about, and that takes a lot out of you too.
That psychological thing,
yeah. Like you're over there and you're like, well, he ain't gonna hit me, but man, if he does fucking catch me, and that's what goes through your head when you spar somebody that got heavy hands.
Well, that whole thing, that whole Ben Tacky time. Remember Ben Tacky was the same way. Not the most skilled guy, but with one punch he could change a fight. Look what he did with Robert Garcia. Robert outboxed this guy. When Robert was the junior lightweight champion, Robert outboxed this guy, beat this man like he owed him money. And one punch knockout changed the whole fight in the final round. Yeah. And I was like, and who was another one that came out of that? It was Ben Tacky. And then the big star of all of them was the kid with a great jab. He fought
Ike Corte.
I don't know why his name just slipped me. One of the best left jabs I've ever seen in my entire life.
As his nickname was Bazooka.
You know what? He threw that. He threw that shotgun jab where he'd push off the back foot, and you don't see that very much anymore. I like to try to throw it. You throw it off with that back foot, and it snaps their head back.
Yeah, but see, that's kind of what hurt him too, though. That jab, actually, in my opinion, hurt Ike Corte because
he started getting time.
That and a jab. Mainly, you throw a jab is to set up your other punches, and a good jab will help you set up your punches easier too, because people are worried. Nobody likes getting hit in the snout
over and over
and knocking their head back.
Yeah.
So first of all, when you're hitting somebody with a jab like that, they're getting frustrated, but and they're not paying attention to what you're doing after now, because their focus now becomes just blocking that jab at least one time out of 3.
Yeah.
And then that's when everything else gets set up off of it. And but so with Ike Corte though, he was just I'm going to show you this, and if you could block it. If you can't, he really never followed up with anything. Because he was notorious for the jab. It wasn't like he was notorious for the right hand.
That's what hurt him when he fought Vargas. Vargas looked. I think it was more of a case of Vargas being on that night, and then him being off. Vargas fought the best he ever looked that night when he fought
Well, it's
him.
not that. I mean, Ike Cortez, to me, lost a lot of big fights.
I think he beat Oscar.
I don't think that happened.
You don't think he beat Oscar?
No.
I did. I think Cortez beat Oscar in that fight.
But, it's because the good thing about a good jabber, too, though, there's the one thing that a lot of fighters don't work on, and trainers, there's a lot of ways you could cheat to stop a good jabber.
Yeah.
If a guy pops the jab from the bottom up, you could always cheat that right hand. If your style is Mayweather, but you're fighting a guy with a hell of a jab, you can still find ways to cheat to stop that jab.
Well, the best way
you could cheat your right hand.
The best way to beat a good jabber is to jab yourself. They always say jab yourself. It throws them off rhythm too.
It does, but it's still kind of hard. I mean, you get a guy that's going to they'll say, yeah, well, just triple your jab.
No,
against the guy.
I didn't triple your jab. It's not about, to me, I was always taught, it's not about doubling or tripling. It's about changing the speed of your jab and changing the timing and changing the rhythm of your jab. You do that. You throw one jab fast. You throw the next one kind of half speed, but with your foot behind you change the rhythm of those jabs.
You could, but my thing is, though, you get a good jabber, you got a good jabber, and it's fucking hard. I mean, like what I'm saying.
Like the Pavliks?
Your best bet is,
like
I'm saying, is to cheat your hand, that hand, to block it. Depending from where, that's why you go and watch film.
You remember Arthur and David Pavlik?
Yeah.
Those guys would jab your head off.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But there's ways that, let me finish this, Vato.
You just quiet down.
There's ways to cheat that hand, to block. Because some guys fire a jab from underneath. Some kind of are just orthodox, like straight down the middle. Mm-hmm. There's always way. The guy's got a quick hand. You could cheat that hand over a little bit to the middle of the face more. That's not all the time going to stop the jab either, but it helps more than going in there with your regular style. But that's kind of the only way. I mean, you could try to change the speed, the tempo of your jabs and everything else. Maybe feints is good, but you get a good fucking jabber.
You're going to get
a guy
hit.
that knows that,
I agree with you. You're the champion here. I mean, your experience is crazy, I would just, I agree with what you're saying too, but not everybody has those tools.
Yeah. I think, and I hate talking about me on the show, but I use it as because of big fights. Like Jermaine Taylor was known big time for his jab. And I thought in that fight that I cut his jab away pretty good though, because of my jab. I had a lot of tools.
What did I just say earlier? By using your jab, you do break.
No, you do, but I had a really good jab that nobody really talked about.
I know, but if you have a jab and you're being jabbed, use yours. It slows it down.
People forgot about a lot of things. It was just because the power was like what everybody remembers.
What I've heard about Jermaine Taylor is he wasn't a hard puncher. He was a sharp puncher, and he'd hurt you just on how the explosiveness of the end of that shot.
Yeah,
that's what people said in the amateurs. He was out of my weight class.
And if you go and I cheated my hand again, going back to what I said about cheating the hand. I cheated my hand over a lot in that fight. I kept it more to the middle of my face.
Yeah.
But he still landed a good amount of jabs. But that's, given that Jermaine Taylor was notorious for having a great jab. But yeah, there's ways to get around it.
You know what my thing is, Kelly? How come everybody you fight, you ruin mentally? You have one fighter shot his family, everything else. Another fighter is wanted by Interpol.
I don't know.
What are you doing to these guys?
Devastation.
Anyway, you want to go to a break?
What was I doing? Yeah, let's take a break and then we'll maybe hop on the other fight coming up this weekend.
Well, we'll do that. We'll talk to Karen.
Okay.
So, all right, and we'll take a break. And this show is brought to you by Ringside, the choice of champions.